This conference will now be recorded.
All right. So how is everyone?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Awesome. I'll tell you, it's been busy this week. Been kind of crazy. Just onboarding a bunch of new people. So there's lots of new tickets and stuff like that. A couple little issues with power supplies. That stuff's normal, but I still think it's trending with the amount of placements that we're putting out. So I don't think I necessarily see an uptick in any problems, and China keeps their eyes on it. But just the sheer volume, we've felt a little bit of it this week. It comes in waves. Like every week and a half or 2 weeks, we get slammed and then it's quiet for a little while, and then it comes back in. It's kind of weird how that works. But no, everything's good. What's up, Jason? It's, what is he doing?
What's going on?
Oh, you and your,
All right, see you tomorrow. Yeah, actually caught me doing some work.
cool.
You working?
Yeah, I know, right? That's hard to believe.
Man, his mic was hot when he first got on there. I blew my ears off.
So, but anyway, like I said, the main purpose of this, if you have any questions, we'll be glad to field them. Otherwise, there's no telling where we may go. So,
One way of putting it.
yeah, it might be a kind of light week.
Well, good news over here.
Okay.
I figured out how to edit nodes on images. The one Lightburn sponsored video showed basically circles and squares and stuff, but I didn't know how to do it after you trace the image.
Mhm.
You have to ungroup them, and then you highlight it, and then ungroup them, and then it works. So, yeah,
Yep.
Gotcha.
did that and got to do a bunch of node editing. So I'm super jazzed.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool stuff once you get in there and get the hang of it. It's pretty neat. It's pretty comprehensive too. So,
Yeah, the other thing on node editing is learning the keyboard shortcuts.
Yes,
Helps a lot
exactly.
on the inserts and the middle and the curves and the lines and stuff. Makes it a lot more
Smooth.
efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget those all the time.
I do too. I don't use them the way they should be for sure. So, but again, I don't design a whole lot of stuff either. I'm usually doing structured things that are already designed for me.
Usually I go in there and I hit the wrong one. I go crap, Control Z, crap,
Yeah.
Control Z.
Yeah, Control Z is your friend. That and the preview window. Those are my
You
two
must be
best
over my
buddies.
shoulder when I design everything. I hit 27 keystrokes, say, oh crap, 28 times. And then finally, I dumb myself into it because I go, well, this is never going to work. And the last thing I hit is the thing that works. And then I erase all that and I try to do it again. And I'm there for another 3 hours.
Yeah. And then it just all just kind of clicks. It's one of those things sometimes.
Hey, have you guys ever used this?
Oh, I've heard about it to clean the cups with.
Dude, I'm telling you.
It's
Don't
way
tell
better
me
than
it's
LA
better than-
Awesome.
Is it?
Yes. Oh,
Right.
night and day
So-
difference.
Here's how it starts out.
Mm-hmm.
The light's probably horrible.
No, I can tell that's bad looking.
And then I spray this stuff on there. It just literally melts it away.
It just runs off. You don't
And
scrub
then I
it.
just
Anything.
take a rag.
That's good.
Gone.
Nice.
What's it called?
That stuff is crazy.
It's blue. It's made by
Enduramark
Enduramark.
blue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've had this stuff forever. I just never used it because denatured alcohol has worked so well for me. But I decided to use it because I found it after we moved and unpacked. I found it. Let me give this a try. And man, I haven't had anything easier. Like even LA Awesome or any of that stuff. I mean, this stuff just literally melts it right off.
Yeah. Yeah, and the cool thing is even if you're when you burn it, if you're not 100% perfect, right? If you're getting like on like a tapered mug or something that's got like the 30-ounce ones where they're narrower at the bottom, you start to get on the curve where it's slightly out of focus.
Yeah.
It'll still clean off the stuff that's not burned 100% perfect, right? If you didn't quite burn it hot enough to it, it'll clean most of that off too.
Cool.
Whoops. I tried to put a link to that in there. There we go. my control key's messed up, and my shift key's blinking Morse code. I spilled coffee in my keyboard again, so it's doing wacky stuff.
100% CPU. That's not good, my friend.
What's
What's
that?
that?
Oh, when your
His,
task manager came up, you had 100% CPU. You were maxed out. Not the greatest.
Got you,
Need a
Brian.
bigger CPU, Brian.
Yeah.
More.
Well, he keeps
Yeah, the other
blowing
thing
up.
on that too, the price. A lot of people will compare the price to LA Awesome. So, oh, it's 5 times the cost. Well, LA Awesome's
Dude,
dirt cheap, right? Water costs more than LA Awesome does, right? You go
you
buy a
can,
bottle of
Yeah.
water, it's more
you,
expensive than LA Awesome. But you can
you
buy
can,
the 64-ounce ones, the refills, and then it's quite cheap.
yeah, you get two 64-ounce refills for like $30.
Yeah. So you're
I
you're paying
mean,
for the spray bottle on the first one, but once you
pretty
buy the
much.
refills, it's well worth it, right?
Oh,
It's more expensive than LA Awesome, but LA Awesome is really cheap.
yeah, but LA Awesome, you still got to scrub it though. This stuff,
Exactly.
this
You
stuff
don't.
here, like literally, it just melts it right off.
Nope.
I
Yeah,
mean, you
it
can just
literally
watch.
runs right off of it.
Yeah, here, I'll spray one. I'll show you, just kind of running off of there. But yeah, I've used a lot of different stuff, and my God, that stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's,
The other
I'm
thing
not.
is a lot of people that have the tricky colors where they say, oh, like some of the navy blue a lot of time where it's a little bit trickier and asking for different settings, right? You still run them the same settings, and where you might would have scrubbed it a bit more, that stuff tends to take it off.
You know, that's red, and it was the same way it come out. This is the engraved. You see how dark it is,
Hmm.
and the cleaned off. Same thing. It just melts it right off.
Cool. That's good
Yeah, like
stuff.
right. You just see it running off of it.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you spray something like almost like a wax. Almost it looks like when you have something that has wax on it, you spray water or something on it, it just
It
kind of
just
runs
beads
down
up
it.
and runs off. Yep.
Yeah.
So has anyone
And
ever tried their other products, their cleaning products, like their smoke stain residue remover or anything like that?
I haven't.
I
No.
I haven't.
I use their sprays. Their sprays are really good, and the sprays are only about 55 bucks. This isn't like a paid advertisement for them either. So don't get me wrong.
Say Rotoboss got a new sponsor is what happened, right?
No, no, it's just it's stuff that I've had for almost. It's almost been 3 years I've had it, and
Right.
I've never really used it.
I guess the thing there, right, is it's listed as powder coat, cleaner, right? So you like to think
Right.
that it's chemically formulated to do that very well, where LA Awesome's general purpose, right? So
Yeah.
it might be, not as good at cleaning tumblers, but you can go clean your toilet, your bathtub, and your sidewalk with it too, right? So,
Hmm.
Yep.
Cool. Like I said, if anybody's got anything, feel free to jump in and ask. These aren't structured real well, so we kind of leave it loose, see where it flows.
Didn't mean to hijack. I just figured I'd mention it.
Oh, you're good, man. How you liking your place?
Oh, it's growing. We've actually
Yeah.
here's the lasers here. I'm waiting on my 63 to go in, and that whole wall over there is nothing but workstations for building rotaries.
Hmm.
And just waiting to get AC put in here and stuff to make it a little bit more tolerable for everybody. But
Right.
AC just opened the door.
what's that?
I said, who needs AC? Just gotta open your door.
Not when it's almost 100 degrees outside and about 60% humidity.
Ooh,
Is it
yeah.
is it really 100 degrees down there?
not right now.
I was
It's
gonna say, damn.
let's see what
Probably.
temperature it is here. It's 52 supposedly.
Okay. You doing good? I've got 64 where I'm at.
Oh yeah, the shorts and flip flops about.
Yeah.
I wear flip flops and I live in Nebraska, so I don't know what you guys are complaining about.
Man.
Of course, I got neuropathy in my feet and can't feel a damn thing, but
Yeah.
Down here, if it gets below probably 50, it sucks.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, since we're
Plus,
talking about temperature and freezing and stuff, that's one thing that we hadn't touched on a whole lot since that Texas thing. Then we tried to build out an article, and we're going to expand on that further because the antifreeze or the cool that China officially recommends. I don't even know if you can get it around here. I think it's like $400 a quart or something insane. So we're trying to find something. It's not. I exaggerated, but it's not cheap. Engineered fluids are not cheap. So we're trying to look at an alternative that would be feasible. Maybe something off the shelf. So
Now, I know there's mixed reviews about what I put out about the little fish tank heater and the water pump. But
yeah, I mean that works. Yeah,
and you can even have it on a UPS. So if power does fail for an hour or whatever, you still got power to run it. It's a 12-volt pump and a 5-volt or a 12-volt heater. I'm sorry, no, it's a 120 heater and a 12-volt pump.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know. I saw it on there and I tried it out myself.
Yeah, we've got one guy that's got a light object. He's getting one of those light object. I forget what model, but it's got the heater built in, and you can get those from S&A also. We can't get them because the machines come as kits. That would have to be something else. We don't keep any on the shelf or anything. But
What is this be? I'm sorry.
I saw somebody posted on there, which was pretty cool. Is it's like
the afterburner?
It's an inline. Yeah, it's an inline pump / like heater of some sort.
Yeah, it's an afterburner, but it doesn't have a pump in it.
Oh,
So no, it's just the heater. It's just the thermo-controlled heater. So you still have to run your chiller continuously or put a secondary pump in.
Wouldn't it just be easier to have your laser in a conditioned space?
One would think, but you never know. I mean, mine's not. I don't run it all the time either. But
my thoughts are is that if you got,
optimally, you'd probably want it in an air-conditioned space or a climate-controlled space of some sort.
Yeah, just conditioned, or if you know you're going to be away from it for a while, drain the tube.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that becomes quite cumbersome to do that like every night before you shut it down to drain it and have to fill it back up and all that.
Every night.
But,
yeah.
RV
Yeah.
That RV antifreeze has been a staple for the past 15 years and running in these DC excited glass cooled water cooled machines, and they've been fine. The automotive antifreeze, I see a whole lot more stuff like seals breaking down and the silicone breaking down because of the stuff in there, not so much the metal components because they're pretty much protected, but it's not nice on the composites. But that RV antifreeze seems to be pretty harmless.
Yeah. Well, the problem is you gotta get the right mixture, because if you're running 2080 on a system that's sitting stagnant, that's probably not going to do you any good. I mean, I don't know what the recommended ratio is, but
well, I don't either.
I've seen a couple
pure RV antifreeze, no dilution at all.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, I know I've seen on another laser page where people used, recommended by the manufacturer, mind you, is 2080. They ran it and they busted a tube. So I mean, it probably
in the manual on the chillers that we have, it specifically says 100% RV antifreeze. So
does it?
According to the manufacturer. Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about the laser manufacturer, not the.
Oh yeah, no, I don't.
Chiller manufacturer. The laser this particular laser manufacturer recommended that ratio, and it ended up they busted a tube.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Is what's the viscosity on that stuff? I've never even used it before.
Like water.
Is it that thin? Okay.
It is thin until it gets cold, and then it becomes like a slush.
Yeah.
But it does not expand like water, so it won't crack your tube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like an amorphous solid almost.
Yeah. I mean, if it got that cold, I wouldn't just kick it on. I'd probably want to bring the temp up and make sure it wasn't flush.
Fire the tube at 100% for a couple minutes to get it up to temp.
Yeah.
No, don't do that.
No,
don't do that.
That's another thing. Even
it'll work once or twice.
if you're running, let's say, okay, you shut down your machine for the night, it gets down to about freezing. You come out and start it up in the morning. How do you warm up the water? Because you don't want to
Fire.
fire that. You don't want to fire that tube at freezing temperature. I'm sure.
Well,
Right.
I mean,
if the water's
how do you warm it
circulating,
up?
if the water's circulating, I don't think you have. I've never seen an instance of thermal shock that I can prove in 6,000 something tickets. Not saying it doesn't happen, but if that water's flowing through there at 13 liters per minute through that small column in the center of that tube, the refresh cycle on that fluid is so high that I think it buffers itself with that gallon or whatever that's in that, in the tank. And you can fire the laser and it will come up slowly. It will be a homogeneous, with that kind of flow. I don't think you have to worry about it too much. On the ones that are open loop systems, like getting the K40 or something like that, and they got one of those weak, really weak pumps that doesn't flow a lot, I can see thermal shock being more of a problem. But on these systems, they cycle the water out of that tube, twice a second probably. So I don't think that thermal shock would be too big of a deal on them.
I guess that
You're
makes
not.
sense.
Yeah, you're not
Plus,
you're
the
not
water's already
saying
in the
anything,
tube.
Travis. Actually, just keep going. That's perfect.
Yeah, that sounds great. That's 100% the way we like it. The water's already in the tube also, so it's not
There,
like
how's
you're
that?
starting with an empty tube. We can hear you now, unfortunately. But it's already in the tube, so that's one of the reasons why you're not going to get that thermal shock. It's
Yeah.
already there. It's already that temp. You're not shutting cold into it,
But if the water's 32 degrees in the tube and you fire that tube off, that's not gonna create heat dissipation and cause.
If
Not
you're
without
not
that.
circulating water, it'll pop it in a minute.
Yeah.
But if you're circulating, that water never gets that hot because it's being replaced by cooler water and mixing in together with the larger volume.
And I've never had to worry. I've never had to worry about it. But these, I know I've seen some people they fire up their chiller in the morning and it's like 10 degrees C. These have a low temperature cutoff on them.
The refrigeration part of that chiller is totally independent of everything else. It has a set temperature and that's what it does. So if it's below that, it'll just never kick on. The pump will run, but the compressor will never kick in.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, to answer your question, there is a low limit.
Or you can just spend $70 and get one of these inline heaters and just call it a day.
Yeah. Well, Marco, that's what we were talking about a few minutes ago. Is Marco's got that afterburner, that goes in line. And then, like I said, we had one guy that actually got the light object version of a chiller that has the heater built in. And of course, TU Chiller, SNA has their answer to that as well, special order. But the afterburner is a good deal, but I don't like the idea of running my primary pump 24/7. Number one, because on the Thunders, the chiller is controlled by the laser, so you'll have to power it independently. Which, if you're trying to mitigate freezing, that's okay. But the whole reason to get one of these machines is it's autonomous. So if you start taking all the autonomy away, what do you got? I mean, you still got a quality machine, but I just like all the bells and whistles, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you could run just a regular 5-volt pump or something. I'm sure, in line with it. Because on my setup, I can run the chiller with the pump installed. It doesn't affect anything. I can turn the chiller off, turn the pump on, and the pump runs unimpeded.
Yeah.
I mean,
those magnetic pumps don't really interfere with each other that much. I'm sure there's a little drag if one of them's active and one of them's not.
Yeah.
But I think all in all, it doesn't hurt to have one of those in line, just kind of freewheeling, with whichever one's doing the heavy lifting at that time. So I don't see any problem with that at all. That's the way I would prefer to do it. Another option would be to just power have a switch on the side of the chiller where you can just go straight from the 24-volt PSU in the chiller straight to the pump, and not engage the thermo control and the AC side, which is all the refrigeration stuff. That way, the only thing that would be run is the pump.
What's one of those pumps cost though? And eventually, you're going to potentially have issues.
Eventually, I mean, they're magnetic pumps, so they actually last a pretty darn long time. They're rated continuous duty, I think, if that's such a thing. I mean, I'm sure there's not a stamp on it, you know, but it's made the same way those fountain pumps are made, and they're made to run 24/7, you know. So it's a specific duty pump for that kind of thing. So how's it going, Grant? The look. Is he having Travis difficulty? Oh, he might be on the phone. Yeah, he's on the phone. All right, everybody say all kinds of random stuff to Grant. No, just saying. But
Hey,
yeah,
Grant, can you talk to Jason and ask him where my Rotoboss is, especially since he's over there making a bunch of tumblers, and I would really love the opportunity to make a tumbler, but I don't have my Rotoboss, so you need to stop working, Jason, until I get mine.
Yeah, you got to watch out for that Jason, man. He loves to spout his stuff, but he never ships it out to people. I mean, it's
Hey,
like
he's
it doesn't
totally,
work
he's
at all.
totally bragging in my face. Hey, look at this blue stuff that you need to clean off the work, but I'm not going to send you your Rotoboss, so you can't work it. So, hey, guess what? Send all your customers over to me so I could be on video showing you about the wash-off stuff and using my Rotoboss tumbler maker. And, hey, thanks. I appreciate it, Jason. Thanks a lot.
Dang.
He's not salty at all.
Wow.
See what you started, Brian?
I didn't.
I know,
Hey,
right?
I just facilitate this session. I have no control over it whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm off the clock. I'm after hours right now.
Are you?
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm never really off the clock, but
I don't even know what a clock is. I don't even know if it's light or dark outside.
I thought when you was self-employed, there was never off the clock.
right.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna try to find something to talk about unless anybody has any questions. I don't know if there's
So-
anything new that's come up. What's that?
So what's everybody's thoughts on that Thunder giveaway?
Oh yeah.
Actually, it's not Thunder's giveaway, but it's Daryl's.
Yeah, that. I don't know. I'll see how that goes.
I don't even know how he got that.
I don't either, because I mean
He
that
must have
kind of
gone through China.
feels. Yeah, I think he went direct through China because it sounds it's a neat idea. I think it feels kind of gimmicky compared to how we usually try to run things, but actually it might be pretty cool. Well, I'm a service guy, not a sales guy, so Grant can talk bad about me. I'm not proficient in that department, so I can just talk out of the side of my neck, I guess.
Well, the big way that Thunder's looking at it is he's huge in the Glowforge world.
Yep.
He's huge.
It would have
in
been
the
nice
Glowforge
to know.
world.
Yeah.
Nobody said a thing.
Oh, Sam wants to know more about that giveaway. Let's see.
Yeah, I thought
You gotta
you guys
spin-
had to
Spin
do with that,
custom.
Grant.
Go to Spin Customs on Facebook.
Yeah, I got a link that'll take you right to the sign up, the sweepstakes thing.
Or go to, actually, he posted that in all the Glowforge or the Thunder. Well, it's actually in all the Glowforge things and on all the Thunder things on Facebook.
There we go.
So that is something though. So the giveaway, that's good. One thing that I've seen that several others are doing is sending lasers out for people to review, and people with big audiences that ask lots of questions about what lasers to buy, and they start saying things. Well, I've got this Aeon and it does this great, and this and this and this, and they ask about Thunder, and well, I've never used a Thunder, right? So it might be something to think about if the competition is doing things like that are getting them, we'll say, more of the gimmicky type stuff. Might be something to consider, Grant. Maybe talking with China and seeing that something along those lines.
Yeah, I'd be more than willing to test one of the fibers.
Same.
They don't even
Grant.
sell those, much less give them away.
Yeah.
Sorry, Grant.
Dude, I haven't even tried to sell one. Anytime people ask me questions about them, I'm like, I don't know.
Why don't you just send me
They'll
one?
ask me like
and then I'll
15
just-
questions and I know like one answer. What
then
wattage
I'll-
is it?
and
About
I'll
what?
post some stuff for you.
About what?
Well,
The fiber. Once I get one in here, I'll be good because then I'll know what the heck I'm talking about.
no, you won't. Then you have to deal with Easy Crash.
No, I'm going to do light burn.
That's what it. Yeah, I think that's the plan. We're not gonna launch it until Lightburn launches.
There you
That's
go. That's
smart.
something really good to say.
That would be
Because
smart.
your tech support cases are going to go up a lot.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and I can't use EasyCAD, much less teach it to anybody.
Speaking of Travis, have you done much with the rotary and Lightburn on your fiber?
Yes, I
No,
have.
I'm gonna actually hook it up to my platform rotary today and see if I can get it to
Yeah,
run
that's
it.
what I was talking about. Your turntable, right?
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna hook
One,
that up today and try it out. I had to submit a couple bugs in earlier today on it,
I
so
got you. All right. Did you submit a bug where their live framing seems to have stopped when they implemented the pass counter? So now if you
no, I
keyboard
have
to
not
go
seen.
left to
I haven't
right or up
noticed
and
that
down,
one.
it actually on mine, if you use a keyboard to try to move it while you're framing it, it actually changes the pass counter number up and down rather than moving the graphic.
Yeah,
So
no, mine was so a couple things. So when you're in the material test section, it won't hold your settings. It'll only do the outline of the material testing. It won't fill it at all. And then if you have a 70 millimeter lens, you're maxed out at 2 squares by 2 squares, and the squares can only be 3 millimeters big.
Okay.
So
On
Yeah, you're
the-
talking about in the new material test file tool, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
And then
do you
yeah,
have to
I've
go in
actually
and
been
set
using the
the
heck out of that.
parameters in the layer?
what
No,
was that?
no, it's a go into your tools, Brian.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
I
a drop.
used it and I outputted one, but it didn't just do the outside. It like did it all.
Oh, mine did everything flawlessly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you
what I
can.
was trying to get.
Yeah, you can change it all now. It's going to take a little teaching people how to use it, because once it pops open, you've got to go in and edit your material settings. And then I was
And your
talking
text.
with Jason earlier, or Jeremy, Lightburn guy,
Yeah,
Oz.
Jason Dory. Yep.
And the other thing, and a lot of it has to do with his text is too tall. And as you
Yep.
shrink down the cell size, it's supposed to shrink down the text as well, and it does. But the problem is once you throw a 70 millimeter lens on there, you're limited to 2 squares by 2 squares at 3
Yep.
millimeters each. And so I think he's going to add an option in the text editor to override his text size and shrink that down.
The other thing that you can do is go in and draw some graphics out of your workspace and put them on the blue and black layers, so 1 and 2, and then so your layers show up in your layer setting. Turn the text layers off, right?
Yeah, that's
so
what.
me, and
that's
then
what
you
he
don't,
was
it doesn't
saying.
waste it. Yeah, it doesn't actually waste you putting the text on there. And me, the other thing is I went in and manually added text that actually showed, like if I was doing speed and power, I went in and manually added the frequency, the material type, all the other parameters that aren't on there.
Yep. Yeah, the other thing that I talked to him, and I haven't heard, he was going to talk to the other developers. I haven't heard if they're going to add yet or not. But when you're doing high pass counts, I asked him if we could add a option to have a delay in between the passes. So it really comes into play, like when I do aluminum business cards,
Yeah, your turntable.
I have 2 passes, but they always tend to warp. You have to give it some time between the passes.
Okay.
And so I told him, hey, if we can get this and have it down to fractional milliseconds for the layer passes, because really I only need about a 5 to 10 millisecond delay between the passes to keep the material cool enough from warping.
Yeah, is that all that popping that I hear that I keep freaking out because it's my lens? When I'm doing a deep engrave on aluminum, it does that, and it freaks me out every time I hear it creak or pop. Is that normal?
That means that you're burning too hot too fast.
Yep.
Cool.
So
yeah, I know you can listen to it.
That's where this setting would come into play, because you could put a fractional second delay in between the passes, and it gives it just enough time to cool down enough so it would mitigate that. It helps reduce like the slag buildup that you get sometimes if you overheat it.
Yeah.
So it would really, really help. And that's something that Easy Crash doesn't have either, but it would be a very welcome feature.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I'm sure he could add it. Right, they're adding lots of features quickly. Right, I was hoping for the material test when I wrote up, because in doing the beta testing, I've actually found a lot of stuff that's in Lightburn that I didn't even realize. Right, so they have a test that's built into Lightburn that's been there for a long time, and I never noticed it. Yep. The other thing is they're adding features in the beta that they're not even talking about. So they've got the project mark, effectively doing a rotary, but it actually accounts for the curvature.
Well,
that's in there now.
Yep.
that's been in Easy Cab. They stuck it in Lightburn. The other one they've done, I don't know if you noticed in the photo editing. So if you bring in like a bitmap and you right click and adjust image, he's got presets in there similar to like one of the online
Yep.
tools that you buy. Those work phenomenally too. They're really good settings to just right click and and preset, and it does your dither pattern, adjust your contrast and your radius enhance and stuff automatically, and it works
It
quite
also
nice.
got a feature in there that switches for rotary. It switches it. So if you put it in there one way and it reverses the image, you flip it and it'll automatically switch everything around.
Yep.
In the system.
And I see he put my tabs back.
Yeah, he literally just took those out before you asked him to put them in.
As soon as I saw him take those out, I'm like, no, I need those. I'm like, I'm tired of doing them manually.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be neat stuff. And even the non-fiber one, like you said, there's stuff coming out for it too. And I find stuff in there every time I do a session with somebody that I didn't know it would do, or that I forgot about, or it was hidden, that I don't mess with a lot. So like the virtual, like doing the grid array and using the virtual array.
Oh yeah.
So you can change one object and it changes them all and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty
And
neat.
I think they added that more recently in like 1.0 or whatever we call it, 0.4.
Yeah, a lot of that was
6.
at the right. Yeah, a lot of it was when all those big changes happened. So, but yeah, looks like we got a few more people in here. Maybe if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to jump in. Hey, Mark, good to see you. And you just feel free to just jump right in, or we'll just keep on talking about anything.
Yep. So, and also just so everyone knows, I am still working on those videos. I got hit with COVID, so I'm still kind of recovering from that. So I'm running a little bit slower. But yeah, the video for the rotary, I think I'm up to either 4 or 5 rotaries that are going to be in the video. So it'll be a good comparison video.
Cool.
Question.
Yes.
We are constantly having to hit origin. We send the job over. Again, I'm running everything off of a MacBook Pro. I send it to the laser, and if we don't hit origin when we start the job, then it goes wherever it wants to go. We are in Lightburn. It's always set for current position.
That's what your problem is. You need to set it to user origin.
Wait.
No, that's not what she wants to do, though.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to
explain
have
what
to
you're
hit
trying to
origin.
do.
If you
Well, are
set
you
it to
wanting to
user
just
origin,
hit
you
origin
got
on the
set
very
every
first
time.
job and then have it in that same spot every single time after?
So I want to move the head wherever I want to move the head on the machine. And then it just to go from that point, which is generally the center of my material.
Well, you
Okay,
have to
yeah,
select that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Go
you'll
ahead.
want user origin, and then the first time you'll go in and you'll center it up, hit origin on your machine, and then it'll remember it from there on out.
But I'm not doing like 20 of the same
do
things.
that.
So
She's
I'm
talking about doing a
constantly
different
having to
thing
run
every time.
around.
Yeah. What she wants to do is line it up on her computer and have it so that when she
Gotcha.
starts
Are
it
you
on
From
the
current
camera,
position.
it's lined up the same. And in order to do that, you have to use absolute coordinates.
Yeah.
And you have to line. I mean, do you have a camera in your laser?
Nope.
You're gonna have a very difficult time using that option.
So like Travis, you've got a boss too, and
Yep.
I don't have to do that on the boss. I can just put my head where it needs to go and hit start, and it's no problems. And on the Thunder, it seems like there has to be so many more steps just to be able to do the thing.
Yeah, so on Lightburn, so what you're thinking is the user origin, and you'll just go in just like you do on your boss. You'll set the head where it needs to be at, and then you just hit the origin button just like you would on your boss. And you only do that the very first time. After that, wherever the head's positioned at, it will go from. So were you using Lightburn with your boss?
Yep, I've only used Lightburn.
It should
And
behave the same. They're same.
It shouldn't work any different. It's the same
Yeah,
controller.
they're the same controllers. Because on mine, on my boss, when I put the head where it needs to go, I have to hit origin on the machine to tell it that's where
I've never had to do it. I didn't even know it was a thing.
So with current, you're trying to use current position, which I think is the way you're describing it should work. You move the head where you want it, and that's the current position.
Yeah.
It should start
Yeah.
from there.
Well, then you still have to
But if
define
it's
your
not
position
working,
in
there's something
Lightburn.
wrong.
You
Yeah.
know where you want. You still have to define your start position in Lightburn with the radio buttons, whether you want it on the
Yeah,
upper
but
left.
but she knows that. She's done that with Boss
Mhm.
forever, so it's nothing different there.
Yeah.
But the current position should work exactly the same on a Thunder as it does on a Boss.
Well,
There's no reason why it shouldn't.
I don't. I was just
Well,
under the
look
impression everybody used user origin because the
Well, I
current
always use,
position has it. I don't know if anybody's ever used. I mean, I'm sure they do use current position, but I haven't ever used it because I just use user origin and press the button. So I think it's just coming from different. I don't know. It should work. We have a different firmware though, so you know, because we use the
Yeah.
U channel for the rotary instead of the Y channel and that kind of thing. I'll need to test it on mine unless anybody's close enough to a machine to play with current position for a minute.
I guess I
and
could go turn mine on.
and also we'd be glad to do a remote session with you. All you got to do is just let us know and we can remote in and have a session with you and kind of go through it and see if everything's okay.
Yeah, and that's the next thing is to do that. I was just going to see if, you know, maybe tonight anybody, you know, had any magical answers for me, because it's
Yeah.
just frustrating. I'm used to doing things one way and now I've got to do 10 extra steps to do the same thing.
No, I think
should
what
just
you
be one
expect to
extra
happen is
step,
what should happen. Something's
Yeah.
just not lining up. We can get it figured out, though, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
I'm going to run a test right now, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. If it is something goofy, we'll get to the bottom of it.
I mean, I can't be the only one ever to like have this come up. So.
Well, it doesn't come up very much, but that's because from the very beginning we teach to use user origin or absolute if you're using the camera. So current position isn't really talked about a whole lot, at least in, you know, the mainstream, even though I'm sure it gets used.
That's all I ever use personally.
The current position?
Yeah, because no matter
What's
wherever you park the head, that's where it's going to start from.
That's what it should.
Yeah.
Well, you got to
Now,
look at. You got to look at
now-
two. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. Also, if you're using start in Lightburn, are you sending yours over to the controller, Jason?
Yeah, I send everything to the controller because I don't want to risk it crashing and
Oh,
Yeah,
I lose the job.
are you doing that? Are you sending it to the controller?
Yes, I'm sending it to the controller because I want my air to do the high-low thing.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to test it right now.
Let's see. I've never used current position, just because I've always been used to pushing the origin button after I get my head where I want it. But it should behave the same way. Like I said, we have a couple of nuances because of our firmware.
So one thing on the current position when you do it, are you setting your job origin? Like you got the 9 little circles that show you like, you know, top, center, middle, left, right. Are you setting that on the center on user origin as well as current position if you do it?
Yes.
And then when you do that, if you look at your graphic, one thing I've noticed in playing with user origin or current position is you'll notice when you go turn on the bit in your move tab where you can see your position of your laser, but you also have the green one which will show you the position of where your graphic extents are. So what I found is if you're doing something like if I was going to go do say like 5 tumblers, right? I will set it up and do user origin. But if I've got like 5 different designs that I'm going to run through, if you've got your design set up there and then you have your other ones off to the side, it looks at your entire graphics window as your area.
Yeah, and I don't do that. If I need to do one part of, say, a bigger job, I pull that out. I used to open another instance of Lightburn and run that small bit there and then go back to my other one that had all my stuff on it, because I do know that it recognizes all the other things whether you're working with them or not.
exactly.
Unless you turn
and
on,
that's the one.
so you
So-
can turn on cut selected graphics and just select
Oh,
what you want to output to.
That's what I do.
But it still does it. It's
Does
still if you're
For the
so
origin.
I use selected graphics, and if I've got like a 2x2 inch I'm putting on a tumbler, and then I've got like 12 inches of design stuff, it still incorporates all that into it when it determines the starting point. So if you're starting like left center, it will start left center of the total graphics,
Yeah,
not just what you have selected. So
It's
I
actually
just
take it
tested
out.
something that I've talked to Lightburn about, and they're actually talking about making that an editable option in the settings where you can tell it basically, do you want it to encompass everything or only the selected area when you go to send it?
Well, there is that cut selected graphics, and then you can avoid any of
No.
that extra stuff if you turn on use selection origin, because then it'll use the selection as the origin instead of everything.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, rather than the job origin. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
the one I've done it with job origin with cut selected graphics on, but not use selection origin. So that
Yeah,
might
that'll
be,
toggle between whether origin is calculated just on the object or objects that are selected or all of the stuff on the workspace.
okay.
Yeah. So
Yep,
when
yeah,
I
and
when I
that
just
works.
tested this,
I'm actually
Brian,
looking at that now.
I set current position, I pulled up my logo, and I moved my head off of where I had the user origin set, and brought the file up and hit frame, and it went right back to user origin and framed it over there. It didn't
So
do it at current
yeah,
position.
I get it, and it's a little different, and it's unfortunate. It's not really 6 steps; it's just one. Just press the origin button on the controller before you start. I know it's an extra step, but it's honestly the way everybody else does it. I know that doesn't mean much to you, but that's why it hasn't come up a whole lot.
I guess I was spoiled with just being able to hit start in Lightburn. I do love having the adjustable air though. So
The air works either time, even if you use start. The problem is it may turn on the high when you want the low. So by using send, that eliminates some of the problems that happen in that communication. But you can also make the laser fully autonomous. You can hold down the shift key while you press send, and there's no interaction with the control panel whatsoever.
I'm running a Mac. I've tried all the shortcuts that y'all have said to be able to do it from my keyboard, and I can't.
Well, you try sending a job by holding down the shift key and pressing send and clicking the send button. Is it?
I'll have to turn the machine on.
Yeah, if you look at it though, the Mac is different. It's not shift. I think it's alt and shift, but if you hover over the send, it'll tell you what the shortcut key is.
That's always been there, but shift, just holding down shift and pressing the send button with your mouse will initiate the job.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't think
the
it will on a Mac.
Alt Shift S is just to simulate hitting the send button with your keyboard. It's not the same.
So Alt Shift S, not Alt Shift while I click it in Lightburn.
No, don't do that. That will just do a send. What you want to do is just shift and click on send. And if that doesn't work, then it may not work on a Mac.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I've done it in all the training sessions, so it works on the Mac. Yeah.
Oh, so I just put in a link that has all the shortcuts to Lightburn for Mac and Windows both. So I think that might help out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Where'd you get that from, Travis?
This crazy thing called the Lightburn documentation.
Yeah.
What does it say?
Yeah, it's like an owner's manual. It's like an owner's manual. Whoever uses owner's manual.
Is shift
one of those things that no one ever actually looks at, but it's there.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm looking to see if I don't even see it listed. Shifts plus send.
There's another one I have saved. I'm trying to find. It's kind of a nice little printout style sheet.
Yeah. It's
if you look at the bottom, there's the printout. Yeah.
There's a PDF viewer embedded in that page, and you can hit the download button.
Yeah. So that PDF one, for whatever reason, I find stuff on that PDF that I don't on the rest of that list.
Sorry, step in so that you can.
And that's, I don't know how. Well, no, it says January 10th is when they updated it. So.
Yeah, no, he's pretty good at keeping that up to date.
So did you guys happen to try that shift send and see if it did anything?
She's turning it on now. Ow.
Oh, okay. Sam has to.
We'll schedule for y'all sometime next week. We're familiar and proficient in Lightburn. It's just one of those of it's the quirks. So like
Yeah, it's a little different animal.
We tried cutting almost 1 inch cherry and walnut today to play with the settings with the 4-inch lens. I want to make sure that we have valid questions, not just you going through the same routine and we're bored out of our mind because we've been doing it for a year or more.
Sure. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
great.
One
don't
of
wanna
these
do
days,
the
I'm gonna
same
set up my
routine.
1 hour or two.
Right.
There's Jason bragging some more that he's making tumblers, dropping them all over the place. Thanks, Jason.
He's gonna give you a hard time.
I'm trying to get these done for my daughter's sports team.
Well, I got some that I would like to do too, but I'm waiting on a Roto Boss Junior, man.
Hey, what do you charge when you do it for like your daughter's sports team? Just wondering, because my daughter's in gymnastics, and their owners were talking to me about that, and I have no clue what to charge them for something like that. You know, because it'd be more of a wholesale sale, right? Because they'd want to sell it in their store as well as give it as gifts to their staff.
Well, these in particular are free.
Well, that doesn't help me then.
For them, but I mean,
typically we charge. We're usually at about $15 a tumbler after engraving for wholesale.
Okay.
And that's all in. I pay for those kind of tumblers, I'm paying between $2 to $3 a piece for them after shipping.
Okay.
For what? For a 42-ounce water bottle?
No, I didn't know what no, not those.
No. Just talking about regular tumbler.
Yeah, just a regular tumbler. Like
usually, where are you getting them from, Travis? Where do you get them from?
China.
He has outsourced manufacturing.
I usually mark up the tumblers double, and then add.
How do I add on to your next order, Travis?
What was that?
How do I add on to your next order then?
Honestly, if you guys haven't dealt with China yet, and I tell people this all the time, hop on Alibaba, just start talking to them, get used to how they talk and all that kind of stuff. And what you want to do when you're first starting off, you most likely do not want to deal directly with the factory or the manufacturer. You want to deal with a sales rep that deals from that factory. They're all going to say that they belong to that factory, but you'll figure out who it is really quick. Typically, the factories themselves do not speak very good English. It's very, very broken English. And they are on very limited hours on Ally. And so you'll get to, kind of get used to that a little bit. So starting off, deal with the salespeople, because they actually speak English. It's a lot easier. And then once you get your volume up, then you can start dealing direct with the factories. But still, I mean, if one person that's really good that she reps for several factories, if you haven't dealt with her, is Coco Sun. She's amazing, and what she does is she brings it over. She covers all the import fees and the shipping fees to LA, and then you're just paying. Sometimes she'll do free shipping. Sometimes you pay just a little bit for shipping or whatever, but you're only paying it from LA. And you don't have to worry about all the import brokering, all that kind of stuff. The stuff's already here stateside or will be here soon. Where a lot of the stuff that I order, I'm having to order 3 to 6 months in advance because it just takes that long to get here.
Yeah. I'm okay waiting.
Yeah, so if you're okay waiting, I mean, you can definitely, the tumblers and stuff, typically I don't ship by sea. I typically will airship those. It is a lot more expensive to do that, but when you're ordering 10 or 20 cases of them, once you break the shipping out, it's really not too bad.
Right.
And there's a bunch of buy-in groups. I don't know how effective they are, which ones aren't, but I know there's a bunch of buy-in groups where everybody goes in together and tries to get things too. Like I said, I haven't participated in that, so I don't know if it's a good idea or not. I just see it quite a bit.
Yep. Yeah. Some of them work, some don't. The one thing I really like about dealing with the people straight over in China is if I want something that I can't find, I tell them what I'm looking for, and they will either find it or make it for me. And so it's really nice that way. I mean, for example, you know, I do these NFC cards, these NFC tap cards, and I had someone ask me about the metal ones that I do. I'm like, well, yeah, they're made custom specially for us. I've never actually seen them for sale anywhere else. And so it's things like that. Like, you know, we can do metal NFC cards where everyone else is running plastic ones. So, you know, just little things like that. Or sometimes if there's a certain business card, go, you know, hey, I need a 0.8 millimeter thickness metal card, but I know you usually do them out of aluminum, but I want these out of titanium or whatever.
Right. Yeah, and you can even submit a formal RFQ and submit it globally or to whichever distributors you want. Let them, you know, deal with it and go about it that route.
Be ready for a lot of emails.
Yes.
Oh, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. You'll get a bunch of those from them for sure.
So the other thing that you'll find, like Travis has said, right, is it is going to be a learning experience, right? You are going to a online marketplace in China, right? So yeah, you will find some suppliers are better quality, better price. You know, it's just like anything else, right? You're going to go out and vetting new supply chain, and yeah, you've got to, if you find someone that's got great pricing, don't go spend your budget. Don't go spend $10,000 on tumblers because you found the best tumbler pricing in the world, because it might be crap quality. It may not be what you're expecting. So you want to find a supplier, get some samples, get some stuff made, check it out, check the entire process out, right? The quoting process, the manufacturing time, the shipping. Like Travis said, they might ship it to LA. Some people cover duties, some you got to pay duties and import stuff when it gets here and handle it on this end. But vet the process before you go all in, because heard some people have very bad experiences and they end up not getting stuff because they can't handle the logistic side of it, or they didn't pay the duties once it got to the the port that it came into and couldn't get it sorted out.
Yeah, and then if it does work out and you do source a good one, I think pretty much all of them, if you go above 3,000 units, there's customization and stuff in there. You could maybe have them go ahead and box it up in your, with your logo on it and that kind of stuff even.
Yeah, we've done that before too, where we get them to make custom boxes for us and whatever, and they're usually really good about that. So.
Yep. And the other thing is like with the minimum order quantities on a lot of stuff over there is what I found too is if you shop different suppliers. So I was buying like the little metal ridge wallets I was engraving on the fiber, right? And you'll find some, so hey, one company might have a 50 minimum order quantity, right? So while I was trying them out, 50 was higher than some of the ones with 10, but I liked their pricing and some of their options. But they had an option for like the custom gift box rather than the little cheap one, which was like $1.50 for the gift box, and it counted as one of your order quantities. So I could do 25 wallets and 25 gift boxes to hit my 50. And come to find out, it was actually really good quality on both the box and the wallets. I'll buy quite a few of them.
Yep. And if you have a buddy that goes over to China at all, so like I've got a good friend that goes over to China on business. I think he goes over there once every couple months. So the good factories will let you pop in and do surprise inspections on their factory. And so he actually goes over there for me and reports back, and he actually goes and walks all the factories that I do business with and checks their quality control, makes sure that they're up to date on their ISO 9001 certs, all that kind of stuff. And that's another big thing too, is if you can find one that's an ISO 9001 factory, you're going to be a lot better off, because that's going to, if they're ISO 9001, you don't have to worry about things like lead or asbestos or weird crap going into your stuff.
Yeah.
So that's something else to keep in mind. So, I mean, I've bought tumblers that looked identical from two different companies before, and when you throw them on the scale, I'm like, why is there a 22 gram difference between these two tumblers that are identical? And so I cut them open and find out that, hey, this one's supposed to be a double wall, but it's not. It's only a single wall or something that. Yeah.
Or really thin metal or something. Yeah.
But once you find a good supplier over there, they will literally bend over backwards to do almost anything you need.
Yep.
That's the good thing about them. Like the manufacturers I use, man, they'll like Travis was saying, they'll either make it if they don't have it, or they'll go to every link that they possibly can to find it,
Yep.
Right. That's cool.
which is
So I
awesome.
just need to get familiar
Yeah,
with
'cause
that. Thank you for that. That's
Yeah,
good
it's
advice.
a totally different ball game though, because you've got to
Yeah.
completely think differently. So, we make $20 over here. We're like, yay, I can buy a soda and maybe a sandwich or something like that. They make $20 over there, like, hey, we have food for the week.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The
Well,
other thing to think about
the
too.
funny thing is they literally, like, when they say there's a price increase on something, you're like, oh great, what's that going to be? And they tell you it's like 10 cents.
Yep.
And to them, that 10 cents is a lot of money. I mean,
Yep.
but to us, I mean, obviously it's not that much. But
Yep. And
Right.
I always love it when they're like, yeah, we're having our biggest sale of the year. And it's like, 25 cents off of each item. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you guys done any importing from like the Philippines or anything like that?
I haven't from the Philippines. I import from China, Vietnam, Pakistan, and Haiti. Are my main places that I import from.
Yeah.
Travis, do you work with a like a logistics import broker, or do you handle
do.
it yourself?
No,
Okay.
I work
That's
with
the
a
next thing.
logistics broker on it.
Next thing I was going to say is if you're going to plan on doing any volume or multiple, it's worth the money to pay someone to do it that knows what they're doing, knows the tariff codes, knows how to handle it, because if
Yep.
not, you can spend a lot more money to not get your stuff and get in trouble, right? You start
Yes.
importing things incorrectly, right, and not classified. Now there's criminal penalties and things if you get it wrong.
I thought everything that we send was called machine parts.
right. Mine's toys. But,
Yeah. I
For
sent
people that don't know, like if you go buy a fiber laser from China and import it here, right? Lasers fall under healthcare equipment and have to be classed by the FDA, right, in the U.S., and they carry a different tariff. And if you don't pay that correctly or declare it properly, now you're messing with the federal government, and
Yep.
they tend to
And
like to
don't-
get their money, right?
And don't think that whoever's doing it, you always have to double check them. So I just caught when I imported my fiber, FedEx handled all the paperwork for me. Or sorry, DHL handled all the paperwork. They classified it wrong. They put it as a laser printer machine. And
No, that's a Glowforge. It's a laser printer machine.
Yeah, it's a Glowforge.
I laugh every time
That's
I hear
hilarious.
that commercial.
Laser
Put it in
printer
your laser printer.
Yep.
Like, not a laser printer.
drives me nuts.
Yeah, one other thing that I'll mention too with the risk with doing business, like on Alibaba, right, is or one of the ways to mitigate the risk is make sure that the seller is reputable. Go look at the reviews and make sure that it qualifies for their trade assurance, right? Their trade assurance is Alibaba backing you if the supplier screws you over, similar to a eBay or Amazon or someone over here would. Alibaba is a business. They're not going to stay in business long if their platform screws over their paying customers, right? So you want to make sure that that the suppliers and all the good ones, right, will have trade assurance, right? When I bought my fiber laser, I talked to someone that came recommended in one of the groups, right? Talked to her on Facebook. They do not sell to individuals. They will make your custom listing, your quote. They will put it on Alibaba, give you the link. You buy it through Alibaba through trade assurance, and it protects both parties. That keeps everything transparent and fair, so you don't get screwed over, and neither do they.
Awesome. Well, it's almost that time. If anybody has any last minute questions or anything, please feel free to go hot on the mic and let us know.
And who else staying on for the after hours?
Yeah, the after party is here the thing now.
Jim is, I'm sure.
That's where it's at, man. You gotta stay. If you don't stay, you're square.
I got too much stuff to do for that now. I'll catch it one day.
Every week you have the same excuse.
I know. Well, every day it gets a little busier. So, All right, guys. Well, I'm going to jump off here. I got about 10 updates to do on my ticket system and make sure everybody's happy over there. And
Hey,
Wait a
if
minute.
you
Wait a
guys,
minute. Wait a minute. There's a
yeah.
Majori just popped a question in. Or
Oh, okay.
Marjorie.
Any
She,
advice
it's in the,
Mar-
she texted.
Marjorie.
Marjorie.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have my glasses. These things are
There,
about to show.
there are lots and lots of pieces of advice for a newbie. Number one, I would follow the cheat sheet and then the 1 hour prep for the training that goes over some usual suspects that can jump up along the way. And they're in the support ticket system. Cheat sheet is here. I'll put a link to it in the article or in the chat. Oops, I need to copy, not paste. And also there's a preparing for your 1 hour training, which goes over what I call the usual suspects, the things that could probably be taken care of that end up using a little bit of time at the beginning, which is okay. But those are, after all of my mindless writing, is the scanning offsets, cleaning the optics, air assist, and autofocus. Once you get those under your belt, you can pretty much drive these things like you stole them. So
Yeah. Yeah, and yet scanning offsets is probably the most common problem that pops up in the forums all the time.
Yep.
sure,
Like,
absolutely.
Other than that, go get some wood and just start playing. That's the best way
Yeah.
to learn, I think.
That's what a lot of it. Hey, I'm gonna kick you over to Jim real quick. Let him be the MC for the after party, I guess.
Okay. Turn off the
Since he's
recording
the
first.
and
I'll get it if he doesn't.
let me hit the button.